All right, so basically what we have here is just some random crabgrass. I don't know where this stuff comes from. It just pops up everywhere in my garden, but it's really easy to get out. You just make sure you get all the roots. Bindweed is my nemesis. It's everywhere in my garden. I'm also going to show you how I create the terrace look in my slope. I use these boards that I've cut to size, and I use rebarb to hold them into place. I actually sift all the soil and then I fill in the void, wet it, pack it down, and I am able to make these terraces that I'm just showing you now. Uh, Originally, the terrace it was meant to be a narrow walkway for me to safely tend to the garden, but it's slowly evolved over the past 3 years that I've been working in the slope to become this slope terrace garden. So there are walkways for me to get through, but there are also planter beds where I can specifically designate certain types of plants. Right now, I want to show you my Boom Boom Gelato White Dahlia. Look at that. This is the second bloom I've had this season, and this plant is doing amazing. So there's tons of buds on it already. I'm just gonna keep tending to it, and we're gonna get a ton of flowers out of it. Oh, look at this. First daffodil of the season as well, mixed in with all of that yarrow, succulents, agaves. The aloe is in bloom. Here's another daffodil bloom. Love it. It's really filling in. These are some more of my nemesis, snails. I'll show you what I do to take care of all the snails. It's called Sluggo Plus. It's no secret. It's safe for pets, wildlife. It's non-toxic, but it is toxic to snails and pill bugs, and all the bad bugs, basically. What I do with snails is I'll come out here every day and I will find at least 10 to 20 of them, and every single day I just chuck them in the street. Sounds sad, but this is not their salad garden. This is my garden. I spend a lot of time and I dedicate, this is my time. Well, enough about me complaining about snails. Just carry on with my tour here. So this is allium, and here is some pastel yarrow. That white, it looks like baby's breath, but that's actually yarrow. It's called marshmallow yarrow. Here's some more allium. These are all budded up, and they're gonna open pretty soon. There's just gonna be bursts of purple, little baby bursts of purple. Now this is a full-size plant, and this is as big as it's going to get. It's not going to get any taller. There are bigger alliums out there. All right, what I'm going to show you now is I'm just going to show you how I get rid of bindweed. Bindweed grows deep, deep roots. That's not bindweed. That's just a regular weed. It looks nice, right? And it's a nice looking little plant, but eventually it turns into stickers. So you know those little round tumbleweed looking ball things that get stuck in your dog's paws or in your socks? That's the sticker plant, and you want to catch it before it gets any bigger, before those blooms dry up, because then they turn into the stickers. Look at the size of that bindweed. Wow. As I mentioned, bindweed, it goes deep, 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 deep. So the deeper you can get that root out of the ground, the more likely you are to get rid of bindweed. It is very difficult to get rid of. It will constantly just keep coming back. So do your best to get rid of it. It's going to keep coming back. Even if you have a plant growing out of the ground, it's going to grow through that plant and wrap itself around it and reach towards the sun. Right here, this is Bermuda grass. Bermuda grass is another tough one to get rid of. Basically what it has rhizomes. So each little nodule, that's a new plant. It's reaching for soil. And so it will just keep creeping along and growing a whole new plant. And we all know what crabgrass is. It takes over your lawn, and people do actually keep it as lawn. They mow it and everything, but it'll keep growing. So it looks like I'm destroying everything, but really what I'm doing right now is I'm aerating the soil, digging around, playing in the dirt. Because of all these deep, excessive root systems, the most effective method getting rid of bindweed is to dig out the entire root. Look at the size of this one. This one's the length of my arm. That is the root only. So do your best. I'm gonna just, stay quiet, let you listen to the birds and watch me like dig around. So over the past 8 years that we've lived in this property, I have sifted the entire property. This is the last section I have to do. So this is how I sift it. I made that makeshift sifter. I used to use just a plastic plant tray, and I kept breaking them. And then my neighbor came across and he's like, yeah, I made one. And so I ended up taking his idea and I ran with it. I made my own too. All right, let's start building this wall. What I did was I ended up getting a piece of plywood and I cut it into 3 foot by 18-inch planks. And that seemed to be the perfect size. So what I'll do is I'll line them up as much as possible, as many as I have, and then hammer them in with rebar. Then I'll backfill with the sifted soil, wet it, tamp it, wet it again, tamp it some more, fill it, wet it, tamp it, fill it until it's tightly compacted, and then I will manually hand tamp it because I want to make sure that it's like the right consistency, the right level. I do everything eyeball, and then right here dry for a few hours. And then once you take off the boards, it's still really malleable, it's still really soft, so you still need to wet it. Then what I do is I push down on the soil, make sure that it's all in place, make it sure that I'm rounding it off. And I don't know if you saw that, but there's clumps falling off. Then I'll go ahead and I'll wet it some more, and I'll take this concrete trowel, what they use to smooth out the concrete, and I'll smooth it out. And that's why I keep wetting, smoothing, wetting, smoothing, wetting, smoothing until the wall it starts to take shape. Now, once this completely dries, it is going to crack. But I'll make like a little slurry mix, and I'll come in and I'll fill in the cracks. And over time, that wall will actually solidify, and then eventually some types of plants start to take over. That green up above, that is actually Dichondra Falls, and that is a 1920s grass replacement. They used to use that in the 20s instead of actual grass. All right, it's now the following day. I was exhausted. Plant is in the front right here. That's called rock praline, and it grows these really cool, long, wispy looking flowers. And so I've decided I'm going to fill this entire wall that I worked on yesterday with all of these clippings. Now, we intend on propagating. You always want to let it scab over, especially if it's a succulent. So I've already let these scab over. To create these holes, it's called a dibber. And my wife actually got this tool, and I thought it was the stupidest tool in the world, but it turned out to be a huge helpful tool. Basically, all you got to do is just punch the soil with the dibber and then insert your plant, and just like that. Simple, right? When you put the plant into the hole the dibber made, it kind of basically the plant has enough soil around it to start rooting in. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to put in as many holes as possible with the dibber tool, and then I'm going to fill all of those holes with the rock praline. All right, dibber done. Let's start inserting the rock praline. Now, just to give you a heads up, not all of these are going to take. There are sprinklers in front of this wall, and these rock praline, that is such a hard word to say. Rock praline do not like water, especially when they are first getting established. They will rot out really quickly. Even if 50% or even if like 20% survive, it will eventually fill in, just like this. I did this exactly the same way. They are aggressive growers once they are established. They love full sun all day long. They can handle water once established. They do not really like water in the beginning, though. I'm pretty happy with the way it all turned out, though. A lot of work. Love it, though. This is my hobby. Keep following me. Subscribe at the bottom if you haven't, and I will show you a follow up in a month or two. Thanks, y'all. Bye.